This is the first part of pruning. It's just about how you use your secateurs. So when you're holding your secateurs, make sure that the flat side of the blade is against the plant, is against the bit you're going to be cutting, and this chunky bit, the ridge, is facing you. That way you get the cut as close to the bud as possible. So when we say bud, at this point I'm going to be cutting to these two leaves here. So you want to make sure you're in as close, without cutting the leaves behind, as possible. You're also making sure that when you make the cut, the stem is sitting as close to the middle of the secateurs as possible. And cut it, and then just any waste that you remove goes in the red buckets. The other thing to remember about pruning is the first thing you do when you're looking at a plant is to remove any dead, diseased, damaged, crossing or rubbing branches. So you can see on this rose that there's quite a lot of diseased and dying bits of stem. So again, holding the secateurs the correct way, the first thing we do is remove these bits that are dead and dying. So as close to the bud, as close to the stem as possible. And it's more important with these ones, when there's some kind of disease or something wrong with the plant, that it goes into the bucket. You don't want it going back down into the soil and the plant. The other thing to look out for is if there are any stems that are crossing each other or rubbing against each other, and if there are, you just make a choice and you remove one of them. What I think I'll do is remove this one here because it's going to start cutting across here. We're obviously not going to complete this rose bush, just to give you the idea of the bits you need to remove for that first dead, diseased, dying, damaged, crossing or rubbing branches. Ready? You'll also be asked to make the appropriate cut based on the shape, the layout of the leaves. You can see from this plant that the leaves are alternate, so we have one leaf here, the other leaf further down. The other type of leaf format you get is opposite, where you'd have one leaf here and the other one would come off this side. When it's alternate, it's important that you make a cut on a diagonal. So if I'm going to cut down to this bud here, this is where you get in close, holding the secateurs the right way. Make sure you're cutting at a slope, that angle, as close to the bud as possible. And let it go. And it's also important that you try and get as clean a cut as possible, so that's why it's important your secateurs are sharp. Any ragged edges are possible ways of pests and diseases damaging the plant. So just quickly do one more. It's an alternate, so it's going to be a diagonal slope, and you'll be shown on the plant roughly where to cut or given guidance if, for example, prune the branch by half. So if you look at the length of this branch, half would be quite a bit in, or a third. So you'll be given guidance on how far in you have to prune. So if I take from here, you can see the bud just here at the node, and just snip as cleanly as you can. And that's alternate. Okay, so the second type of cut that you might need to do on a plant is when the leaves are opposite each other, and that's just a cut straight across. So same as with the alternate ones, you'll be given some guidance on whereabouts, how far along the stem you have to cut, and just as close to the blade as possible, using the secateurs in the middle, and just a clean cut as you can, right into the bud.